Welcome to my part 2 video on comparing and ordering rational numbers. So yesterday we looked at comparing rational numbers. Now today we're going to use our comparing strategies to order rational numbers. So I'm on the second page of our notes. So it says list the following in order from least to greatest. Use the middleman and change all the decimals. Now we could also change them all to percents. Some people prefer that, but I'm going to show you decimals. Stack to line up the decimals, insert zeros if necessary, and then of course, order. So 1/3. If I didn't know that fraction, I would do long division, but I do know that 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. 30%, move it 2 to the left, and that's 30 hundredths. This is 3 hundredths, it's already a decimal, and 3/8. Remember we talked about the trick for the eighths. Every eighth is worth 125 thousandths. So if I have 3 of them, I have 375 thousandths. Now I'm going to go ahead and stack them down here. So we're going to write 0.3 repeating, 30 hundredths, 3 hundredths, and 375 thousandths. Now here I'm going to drop a 0, but here I'm not going to drop zeros. Why not? Because there's a bar over the 3, so I'm going to drop 3's in. I'm going least to greatest. So if I compare, I see a 0 in the 10th spot here, so that's the smallest, 30 hundredths. Now they all have a 3 in the 10th place here. Sorry, 10th place. So look to the hundredths, and I have a 3, and a 7. So now I look at the 2 with the 3, and I see a 0 and a 3. So this, sorry, I'm looking at, looking at these two. So 0 and a 3 in the hundredths place, so 0 is smaller. So put a 2 there. This one would go third, and then 375 thousandths would be fourth. Now I'm going to write them based on what I started with originally. So I'm going to write these 4, not what I changed them to. So the first one was right here, 3 hundredths. Then we had this one, which was 30%. And we had this one, which was 1/3. And then last we had 3/8. I'm just going to box this in so I know that that is my order. All right, let's practice some more of these. It says order the following from least to greatest, so ascending order. So you might hear least to greatest referred to as ascending order. Convert all the decimals. Stack and line up your decimals to make ordering easier. So we're going to convert all of these. The square root of 49 is 7 because 7 times 7 is 49. 71 hundredths is already a decimal. This is a friendly fraction, so 7 and 7 tenths, so 7 decimals 7. And then this one, move it 2 to the left to change to a decimal, and it's 715 thousandths. Now I'm going to stack them over here, so I have 7 whole. And 7 whole, the decimal would be right here, so I'm going to put it there so I make sure I line up correctly. 71 hundredths goes right here. 7 and 7 tenths. And then 715 thousandths. Now I'm going to have to drop some zeros here, so 2 zeros here, 1 0 here, 3 zeros here. So I'm going least to greatest. So I'm going to put a number 1 here because I have 710 thousandths or 715 thousandths. Now it's between 7 whole and 7 tenths. Well, look at the tenths place is 0 and a 7, so this one is smaller. And then, of course, we have this one. Now I'm going to write them in order. based on where I put the numbers. So we said 71 hundredths came first. Then we had 715 thousandths, which started out as 71.5%. Then we had 7 whole, which was square root of 49. Then we had 7 and 7/10. So I'm going to box this in. Now the next one says order the following from greatest to least, so descending order. Stack and line up your decimals to make them easier to order. So greatest to least is sometimes referred to as descending order. 15%, we're going to move it 2 to the left, 1, 2. I'm going to write 15 hundredths. Then we have 7 fourths. I can change it to a mixed number by saying how many times does 4 go into 7? 1, with a remainder of 3, so 1 3/4. But I'm also going to show you how to do long division for this one. So I'm going to do it over here. So top dog goes inside, bottom dog goes outside. So 4 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. Put in a decimal. Bring down a 0. 4 goes into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Drop another 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times, and 5 times 4 is 20. So it's 1 75 hundredths. The next one is already a decimal, and 1/5 is a friendly fraction. I can turn it into tenths. 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 2 is 10, so that would be 2 tenths. I'm going to stack them up over here, so we have 15 hundredths, 1 75 hundredths, 115 thousandths, and 2 tenths. I can drop 2 zeros here, 1 0 here, and 1 0 here. Now I'm going greatest to least, so if I look at the ones place, the only one that has a number there is 1, because all of these would be 0, and I can put those in there as placeholders. So we're going to start with, well, let's number them here, 1. Now, 150 thousandths, 115 thousandths, or 200 thousandths. Hopefully you were thinking 200 thousandths. Then would come 150 thousandths, and then last 115 thousandths. Now I'm going to write the correct order, which would go 7 fourths. Then we would have 1/5. Then we would have 15%. And then last we'd have 115 thousandths. And box it in. All right, let's look at the next page. Order the following on the number line from least to greatest. Plot each rational number on the number line to help you put them in order. So we're going to convert them, plot them, so that we can see the order. So 55 hundredths, we are going to put that on the number line. That would be between 5 tenths and 6 tenths, so right about here. 55 hundredths. Square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2, so we're going to plot that right here. Put the square root of 4. 7.5%, that's less than 10%. I know 1/10 is 10%, so we're going to move it 2 to the left. It's 0.075, so we're going to put that right here. And then we have 9/8. So I'm going to review how to change this to a mixed number, because I notice it's 8, so if you know the trick, 8 goes into 9 one time, with 1 left over, and I keep the denominator the same, so it's 1 1/8. And I did that because we had talked about yesterday that every eighth is 125 thousandths, so this is 1 and 125 thousandths. Now, if I didn't know that trick or how to change it to a mixed number, I could still do long division. It would give me 1 and 125 thousandths. So it starts with 1 1/10, so it's going to be right about here. We're going to call that 9/8. Now they're in order from least to greatest. I'm not going to rewrite them because you can see the order right here. Okay, number 4. Which statement is not true? We have 89 hundredths, which is 0.89, which is 89%. Those are all true. 9 25ths, friendly fraction. I can multiply top and bottom by 4. And I get 36 hundredths, yes, and that's 36%. So I can cross out A and B. 1 and 7/8, 1 and 875 thousandths, that's correct. Excuse me. But if I change it to a decimal, a percent, by moving it 2 to the right, I get 187.5%. Do they match? They do not. So the correct answer is C because it asks which statement is not true. Now example number 5. Which is the greatest number? I notice 2/5 is a friendly fraction, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2. And I get 2 and 4/10, which is 2.4. 8/5, we're going to practice long division here. I could change it to a mixed number and then a friendly fraction, but I'm going to practice long division because that's usually what we need the most practice on. 5 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. Put in a decimal, bring it straight up. Bring down a 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times, and 6 times 5 is 30. So I have 1 6/10. 20 and 25 hundredths percent. We're going to move it 2 to the left. And I get 2,025 ten thousandths. And then the last one is 2 and 25 hundredths. So it says, which is the greatest number? So these two start with a 2, so these are the greatest. So I can drop a 0 here. 240 hundredths or 225 hundredths? Good, 240 hundredths. Okay, that concludes our Part 2 notes on comparing and ordering rational numbers. I hope you have a great day.